Our first guest is a local realtor, businesswoman, and first-time author. Not only is she all those things, she's also one of my clients. She's a sister in the Lord, and most important, she's one of my dearest friends. So we have made this pact that we're going to behave and we're going to be professional. Please welcome Victoria Heisel. Victoria, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I'm excited for you to be here. You have such a story to tell, and I'm anxious to just jump into it. But first, tell us a little bit about your background.
My background here in Florida. I came here in 2002. I was not a realtor at the time, and I think I remember saying when I drove here that I would never be a realtor.
Okay.
God had other plans.
Watch those words.
Yeah, God had other plans. And I'm happy to say that I have loved being a realtor.
Great. And you're from the cold winters of?
Minnesota.
Oh.
Yes, it was 5 below there yesterday, so I'm very happy to be here today.
You were the smart one that got away into the sunshine.
In fact, yes.
Great. Good. So when did you get into real estate? If you came here in 2002?
Right. I decided that I would want to fix up houses, I think like a lot of people at that time. So I started to do that. And then I got my license. And then I decided, well, I think this would be a good way for me to earn a living.
Now, I know a lot of realtors, and you bleed real estate. You just love what you do and love helping the families. And I see it every time you're working with someone or talking about someone. So is that what happened that you said, I'm in it for sure?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is that I was going through a divorce at the time, so I knew I needed to find a job where I could really work my own hours, make my own plans, and do my own thing. And that really fit into my lifestyle at the time. But I think more than that, I think it is a service type of job for me, where I can really help people realize their dreams and help them with a financial decision that really starts with an emotional sort of beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's part of, I think, my DNA to help people with those kinds of things.
Okay, so you get into real estate and the market is pretty good.
The market was great. And so I was just thrust into that market, Judy, with the idea that things were happening so fast. And to tell you the truth, I really didn't have the training that most realtors would have because things happen so fast.
And that was common at that time.
It was.
It was like if you got pulled over by the police, they wanted to see your real estate license instead of your driver's license, I think.
Well, and true, I came from a corporate background, a marketing and sales background, and so I had lots of experience working and relating in the financial industry, but not what it took to do what I needed to do when the things in the market changed.
So you were working mainly with buyers, right?
Yes, I was.
And then your wonderful pastor asked you if you'd maybe help out in a certain ministry.
Well, I think as we all know, the hurricanes began to come. Charlie first,
hurricanes,
then,
right.
Hurricanes. Charlie first, then Katrina. And our church is Grace Church in Cape Coral, Grace United Methodist. And George, my pastor, asked me one Wednesday if I wouldn't help out and try to find a family that came here from the Gulf Coast, if I wouldn't help them find a home. I'm a realtor after all, certainly I could find a rental home for them. Well, it turned into a huge project, and many families I helped find homes with a whole team of people helping us.
Oh,
so it wasn't
great.
as though it was just me, it was a whole thing. But what happened, Judy, and you and I have talked about this, I lost my focus on my job. And I thought, well, maybe, certainly I'll just get back to it, of course, but at the same time, the market changed. All of the building permits suddenly dried up. And at that same time of that huge helping these folks and that huge project, the real estate industry changed. And while I wasn't looking, I basically lost my focus and my job and my income.
And that little leg up that you had in the business. So basically we could probably blame it on Pastor George, right?
Yes, we can. I think we can.
Hi, George. It's just fun. I know George is a buddy.
It's fun to
we have
bust
to pick
his
on
job. Yeah,
him.
we
It's
do.
just fun.
We do.
Okay, so then you start to notice you finish up that great project, and you're doing ministry, and you're helping families and really making a difference.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're not paying attention to your own business.
Right.
So you come back, and what happens? What year is this?
This is 2005.
Okay, 2005. The market starts to change, and
And
you were working with buyers, so it was hard to.
Yes.
Jump back in.
Realtors who had listings were doing okay.
Okay.
Because they still had an inventory to sell, but I was working with buyers and they were afraid. They were afraid to buy. So by 2005 and 6 and 7, I had a really hard time. So I had begun to live off the equity in my home that I pulled out, and I had to find other ways to make a living. And depression, all of that changed. And even though I trusted God with all my heart and had daily Bible devotions in small groups and so much support and was able to make it through those times, it was so difficult. And I'm sure that anyone who's watching this program today knows.
I agree, absolutely. There's so many stories of heartaches.
The short sales and everything. I mean, I didn't even know what a short sale was.
I don't think that word was defined before.
No, it's like people would say, what is a short sale? I don't know what a short sale is. I had to find out. We had to learn about that.
Okay, so you're in the market, you're trying to find your way, and honestly, I mean, we're the epicenter of the foreclosure market, the crash and burn.
We were. We absolutely were.
So not only were you personally going through some difficulty, but friends, family?
It was all around us. It was
Okay.
all around us. We were at 18% unemployment here in Cape Coral at one time. It was really a remarkable journey for so many people.
I remember you said you'd made a decision one day to turn the keys over to
the Lord, the keys of my house.
Okay.
And I knew at that point that either it was foreclosure or short sale, move back to Minnesota. That was not a very good option for me. I loved being in Florida, and I miss my family, don't get me wrong, but health-wise and everything else, Florida is really my home.
Florida's home now.
But I knew that the keys to my house were not mine, and they weren't the bank's either.
So I know we've talked about God's faithfulness, despite the uncertainty and the fear and everything that was going on. What did you did some really key things. You surrounded yourself with a great group of people.
I did. My small group, absolutely the best. And reading the Word every day and journaling every day and hearing God speak to me was amazing. And also I did hire a business coach,
You did? Anyone I know?
It would be you. Well, that's how I got to know you.
Well, honestly, you met me back in 2007, though you don't remember meeting me.
Oh, don't you go
But we won't
there.
talk about that, so okay. Well, we met when you came to an event I was holding.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
then somehow this strange friendship just really developed in a coffee shop.
It did.
And I could see that you had such a heart and a love for what you were doing in real estate and
True.
the families that you were helping.
True. Yep.
So you made some good decisions. Tell us about those.
Well, I made decisions to, based on what you and I were working on together at the time. I hired a part-time person on a shoestring, did some good work, referral work, read some good books, made some decisions to really amp it up in my marketing. And then I had this crazy dream. And
Tell us about the dream.
Oh, you know about the dream. You could tell the dream. I had this
But it's so much better coming from
I had
you.
this dream that I had to go to work in a grocery store at Publix.
Okay.
And this Publix is right across the street, and I live and work in this gated community, and I sell a good amount of the homes in that community. And so I had to go to work at Publix, and it was awful because I have kind of some back stuff going on. I thought, I can't stand at a cash register all day, I'll kill myself. And I had on this green vest, and it was just awful. And I thought, what are people in my community? They're going to come up to cash register 7 and say, what am I going to sell them real estate at cash register 7? And
Real estate aisle 7.
Yeah, aisle 7, Victoria Heisel. It was just crazy. So
You woke up and I remember.
Well, no, but in the dream, the worst part of the dream.
Oh, okay, right.
The worst part of the dream was that I was only going to make $119,000 a year as a cashier.
How can you possibly live on that working at Publix?
You know how crazy dreams are. That was an enormous amount of money for me, it still is. And in the dream, it was 119, and I thought it was the most pathetic amount of money that anyone could possibly make. In my world, in that dream, it was just, why bother? Well, I woke up from the dream, I was just like, oh, thank goodness that dream is over. And I told that dream many times. And then later in the year, in January of 2011, I told that dream to the folks that were in our workshop.
Okay.
You remember that?
Right.
You were
I
there.
do.
You were there.
I was there.
And I had just put down my goal of the year to sell $85,000 worth of real estate. you know, that was my income goal for the year, right?
85,000.
85,000. That's what my broker
I remember
and I
thinking, okay.
Well, shut up. Did I say
we do
that?
have people watching
I
us.
know.
Okay.
Well, anyway, my mother would be unhappy with me. Anyway, 85,000, and so I told the dream, just like I've told it to you. And Rustin, owns the plumbing business, he said, "Well, Victoria, certainly if you can make $119,000 working in a grocery store, certainly you can make that selling real estate."
I remember that well.
And there was just like dead silence, and everybody chirped, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." And of course you were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And so I had to slink back into that room and erase off the board the 85 and put 119K on the board. And that began the journey in 2011 of a lifetime.
And I remember when you wrote that, you had the deer in headlights look.
I did.
But you had the support of all these different business owners cheering you on and checking in. And what happened that first quarter?
I'm not telling. I can tell you, the first quarter I made more money the first quarter of 2011 than I made all of 2010.
Okay, despite, we were in this major recession in Southwest Florida.
And I actually had a frozen shoulder and I couldn't move my arm any higher than this.
Okay.
So that really was the beginning of a miraculous year, and that's why I wrote this book. Because what happened then for the balance of 2011 was truly remarkable.